Hi, everyone. Since we didn't get a chance to go through these in the meeting last night, I wanted to talk about the research based strategies for recruitment and retention that you can use to support your program. So, the first of the recruitment strategies focuses around targeted outreach. And so, one of the great ways to do this is working with CBOs, which are community based organizations that target specific groups. So, for instance, if there's a group that focuses on young black engineers, that might be great if you're an engineering program. Working with your CCR, doing job shadowing and awareness activities for people not in your program is a proven way to show people what you do and get them excited. And so making sure to advertise those opportunities. Doing things where you demo what the career is. So that could be something that your program does, like where your students demonstrate their skills, something like the Benson Tech Show or something like that. Or it could be times where you bring in a professional and students get to interact with them. Any sort of industry partnership engagement has a lot of specific benefits, and this looks a lot of different ways. But again, it's targeted outreach to specific groups of students with your industry partner. And then summer camps have, again, are another research-backed way that really show. You send you set up a Girls Who Code camp. You set up a childcare focused middle school outreach program to get kids doing your area of interest, and you're looking for people that wouldn't normally have access to that. All these very effective. The other real recruitment strategies focus around communication, and so designing personalized marketing materials that are specific to your program of study, and that also kind of doubles as personalized who you're advertising for. So if there are certain historically underserved groups you want, if there's certain students in your school that you're hoping to do is make a personal invitation to them to join your program. Making sure you have a lot of diverse role model representation in your communication. So that could be posters in your class, that could be who you're bringing in as speakers, that's who you are teaching about in your classes. The clearer your pathway visualization is, and the clearer the progression through your pathway is, the easier and stronger it is to recruit that one. That one comes up a lot about that start to finish path. Where do you start? Where do you end if you join this program of study? Polishing and making that really clear has been effective in many states and programs. And then using student ambassadors and word of mouth. Our students are our greatest resource, both in terms of they're fun to teach, but also they're going to talk about your program. They're going to talk about you as a teacher. And so building up a student ambassador program is kind of a time-tested strategy as well. Another way is to focus on engagement. In this case, spelled engagement wrong. But in this case, it's taking an active role in doing things. So, for instance, showcasing student work and peer testimonials are really a great way to engage students and show how students are engaged. And so this is a great thing to collect and show. Doing CTE fairs and / showcases. So Benson Tech Fair is a good example, but a lot of the schools now are doing things, whether it's at like an 8th grade night or high school preview day, or even just during forecasting season to showcase like things that happen in the schools in the CTE programs. And so this is a really effective strategy. Directly engaging with feeder schools, either to do these kinds of events or just to let yourself be known, let your program be known. All of these ones have, a lot of examples of how this has been part of like overall strategy that's worked across, many programs, many states, lots of different areas. CTSOs, which, we've kind of talked about in years past, But those are great ways to engage and recruit students, because you can be part of a CTSO and not part of a program of study, right? So if you're doing DECA, if you're doing robotics program, if you have a club or student organization that's tightly tied to your CTE program, these have all been ways to bring people in, right? They see this cool thing that you're doing and they want to get engaged with that. And so, things like, yearbook and, various clubs and things like that can really pull people into your program depending on your program of study. Again, clear pathways comes up multiple times in the research, and things like dual credit. Dual credit has been shown to make things be a very desirable for a wider range of students. My own personal experience with that is that when we started offering dual credit, we really improved our historically underserved representation because different students were interested in getting that dual credit opportunity. Again, as I said before, the skills you start with and the skills you end with, the clearer that is, the better that is at attracting people to your program. Okay, so that's kind of for the research-backed strategies for recruitment. Let's talk about the research-backed strategies for retention. So, retention always starts with student connection. And there's some simple things that seem like not obviously, but these are all, sort of research backed and, really worth doing. So, learning to use your students' names obviously is a really big thing. Creating a lot of time to do personal check-in moments. So this is times when you check in with students, not about necessarily specific, work or things like that, but just getting to know your students. And similarly showing genuine interest but beyond the coursework. So these are just all about taking the time to engage one-on-one small moments with your students to show them that you care and you're happy that they're there. And then as we talked in the full presentation, the asset-based framing is a really great way to focus on student strengths. So instead of focusing on what students aren't doing for you with that deficit mindset, focus on, sort of best intentions. Kids want to be successful in classes, right? So, what skills do they have? What resources do we have? And really focusing on bringing out the best in every student. Different kinds of engagement that works. So real world hands-on projects, are consistently shown to be a draw for students into these classes and keeps them engaged. The more obvious that this is matches up with the work that you do in the real world, the more likely students are to stay with programs. Another one, again, is connecting the curriculum to career opportunities. And again, CTE programs have a unique pull where students like to see that the jobs and the path that they might take if they pursue in them. So it's really putting the C in CTE, helps with that classroom engagement and really helps with retention. And there's been a number of studies to do that. Vary your teaching methods is another big one, is that, diversity of styles is really helpful. So, sometimes you can do a lecture, sometimes you do a project, sometimes there's group work, sometimes there's solo work, right? So mix up your different strategies, and that's going to help prepare students for, different things that they're going to encounter in the workplace, but it's going to help with engagement in general. And then create lots of low stakes participation opportunities. This is one that has shown up in a lot of different research, not just within CTE, but if there's ways to participate that are very low hanging, like you don't need a lot of prep, you don't need a lot of background knowledge, this is a great way to engage, especially students that have struggled, maybe have poor attendance, things like that. You want to make sure that there's a way to enter into the activities that you're doing in class. Always have something ready for that kid that hasn't been around, or is reluctant to engage. Great way to keep that kid around, because they know that they can engage in class even if they're behind or struggling or whatever. So again, on this kind of line of academic support as being a really key retention strategy, because keeping and bringing a student that's struggling to being a student that's successful is one of the most rewarding parts of being a teacher. And so offer clear, accessible extra help, and really think about what that means for students. Saying, hey, come in during flex is really great, but that might not be accessible to every student. They might have 5 classes to be making up for work in that time, things like that. So you want to think about how you're offering help and how accessible that is to the student. That's really going to help retain students. Provide multiple ways to demonstrate learning. So that's another, kind of tried and true strategy that works across all disciplines, is to be looking for ways to have students show that they know and have learned the material. Sometimes that's, there's a very specific way to do this. Can you use this tool in a safe way, right? So that's okay, we're going to want to have lots of opportunities to demonstrate that you can use that tool. But there's probably, one way to demonstrate that tool is sort of safe. But there might be other ways to show that they know how to select the right tool to build something, or make a decision, or plan a project, or work in a group, or things like that. So finding multiple ways to demonstrate learning is really important, and something you can always kind of be looking out for and adding to your teaching. It's a pretty low hanging way to build retention. Focus on giving constructive feedback, not just how students didn't meet the standard, but what they can do to meet it in the future, and giving that in a timely fashion. So that's consistently shown in the research, that if the feedback is too far away from when the work was done, the kids have a hard time processing that, because they don't remember what they were thinking or what they were doing. And so the more timely you can give that feedback, the more supported they will. It also really stands out as you caring about them. Giving constructive feedback in a timely way is another way that you show a connection with the students, and it has a really strong effect on retention. Next, create study groups and peer support structures. So finding ways that students can develop their learning through each other in classes is a really effective strategy. And so since there's only one teacher, but there's a lot of students, the more strength that you commute, but that you develop within a student to student way, has a strong effect on retention, because it builds community, as well as academic support. Getting towards the end here, but using interventions as part of your retention strategies is really important. And so if this is just simple things like knowing your students' IEPs and actually implementing the strategies that are recommended them, it turns out that a lot of those strategies really make a lot of sense, and you'll see those students improve and stay around more if their learning supports are met. Again, taking action and being proactive in identifying struggling students and reaching out to the student and parents with the supports that you offer, and make that connection and engagement. A lot of times the research has really shown that those students that struggle feel a little lost and lonely, and so feeling connected to the class and that somebody cares about them and is taking an active role in following that up can lead to a lot of success. And again, there's a lot of other support resources in the building, and a student that seems like they probably have had a lot of interaction with support resources might not actually have been using them, or not know about them, or things. They could be coming in from a different school. They could be new to they could just have their first IEP or something like that. So making sure students are connected to the support resources is another way to build community, build connection, and get them the support that they have to make them be successful in your class, which leads to retaining them for more time. And then our last one is motivational strategies, which is, again, little things that build community and have been shown over a lot of different research to connect and keep students around, which is celebrate small wins. There's a lot of, discussion about the ratio of kind of positive feedback versus, critical feedback that a student should hear, right? And so, we want students to hear more positive feedback than they hear critical feedback, but that's not usually the case. Usually because of time and, all these things, that's not how students experience it in their day. So taking the time to celebrate small wins, do that positive messaging will really help make students feel like they're part of a program. There's people that care about them, and then that retains them. Adding student choice and learning, another one that has shown up kind of time and time again, is that it doesn't mean students have choice in every aspect of their learning, but sprinkling in aspects of student choice, right? Giving them, hey, pick from one of these 4 projects, or chances to propose their own project or pursue a little bit of their own learning. Scattering that in appropriately has significant impact. Telling stories about your industry and career success stories are always the most effective. So research shows that if stories from the teacher always have the most impact. And so that is the best stories you can tell are your own stories, but bringing in other industry and career success stories from people, whether that's speakers or, pre-recorded videos you have, is a great way to see it, because a lot of times those stories tell ups and downs and bumps in the road and things like that. And so, seeing how you can have success and it's not smooth and it's not automatic is really valuable, and the research backs that up. And then anything that connects students to seeing their potential impact, seeing how they can go farther in your program of study and in this career, and see like what they could do if they keep this up and if they keep pursuing it. And then the last one that's really motivational is just focus on competence building activities, right? So that's scaffolding activities so students experience success. And so that is something that's a really critical piece of curriculum design, like research-based curriculum design, is scaffolding activities so students build the necessary skills to then be successful on it. And so they're never going to like attack or approach something that they're not ready for. And, that nice progression of like, I built this skill, I built this skill, I built this skill, and now I can do this more complicated thing is a really, really powerful thing. And so the better that we can, get that sense of building of competence in our students, the more likely they are to stick around. So that's a quick collection of research-based strategies for recruitment and retention. I hope they found them useful. Cheers. Bye.